y'all, welcome back to the Daily AMG and welcome to my March wrap-up. I know it's the middle of April, but I have the time to film some videos, so you may see this ensemble a few times in the next coming days, weeks, etc. When you have the time, you just power through, and so I'm going to do my March wrap-up for you. So I read 10 books in the month of March. The first one was The Dollhouse, and I have talked about this in the last few videos. I have actually started reading The Address by the same author, and I forget her name now, but I will insert a picture, obviously, of the cover of Dollhouse. And her, Fiona Davis. Or is that an actress? There will be an image. I have started reading The Address by this same author, and it is outstanding. It is also historical fiction that bounces back and forth about the construction of the Dakota in New York City, the very famous Dakota. And then I read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This is also a super popular book. This was actually our book club book, and I believe that I gave this 4 stars. So I really look forward to reading more Agatha Christie because I did kind of feel like this had a lot of the same premise as Murder on the Orient Express. So I definitely want to read more from Agatha Christie just because I know she's Agatha Christie, so I definitely want to read more to get a better opinion of her. I've only read 3 things from her and seen 1 play, and so it all kind of has the same outline. So I definitely want to read more before I formulate an opinion. You know what I mean? Alright, the next book that I read was The Secret Book and Scone Society by Ellery Adams. I love Ellery Adams. This is the start of a new cozy mystery series of her. I love her book retreat cozy mystery series. The 4th one comes out next Tuesday, actually, I think, the 24th. So, and I think it's called Murder in the Locked Library. If you love classics and you love cozy mystery, this is like that cozy mystery series is perfect. The next book that I read was 5th Avenue 5 a.m. and this is Audrey Hepburn, Breakfast at Tiffany, and The Dawn of the Modern Woman, and this is by Sam Wasson. It is very well researched, but did not feel like a research paper. I read a lot of nonfiction, and so sometimes there definitely are some works that it's basically just all fact, and the author doesn't put like his spin or his personality on it in a way that's engaging. I'm sure if you are a nonfiction reader, you know exactly what I mean. So this was very engaging, very fast-paced. I learned so much. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Obviously, due to the subject matter, it's one of my absolute favorite films, and it's one of my favorite books, and I was just constantly engaged by this author, and he has other ones that I actually added to my TBR. One is on Bob Fosse, and the other one is on Improv in America. 2 things that I love. It's great to find not only a work of nonfiction that I loved just based upon subject matter, and then be able to add more to my TBR from that same author because I loved his writing style. I absolutely love when that happens. Okay, so the next one that kind of prompted, because it kind of came up in the same search, was Swans of 5th Avenue. And when I was putting this on Goodreads, that came up because I typed in 5th Avenue. And I was like, oh my gosh, this has been on my TBR for, well, it came out in 2016, so for 2 years. But still, it was one that, as soon as I heard all the hype and the buzz about it, I immediately put it on my TBR, and I had the total, as I do with all of my TBR, I had the total intention of reading it immediately-ish. So 2 years, okay, whatever. But this is a fictionalized account of Truman Capote and his Swans. And if you've watched any videos, you know that I have a major fascination with Truman Capote, with New York City, especially during the 50s and 60s and into the 70s as this goes into. This is outstanding. I gave this 5 stars. This is by Melanie Benjamin. So you may know her from The Aviator's Wife. I have now added all of Melanie Benjamin's works to my TBR because this was outstanding. I loved her writing style, and of course I gave this 5 stars. Yeah. So the next book that I read in March was a memoir by Betty Halbrook, and this is I'll Drink to That, A Life in Style with a Twist. A fascinating memoir about her growing up, her stint in a psych ward, her first marriage, and then on to her career as like the go-to stylist of Bergdorf Goodman's in New York City. She has dressed everyone, has an amazing story, as well as just an incredible career in style. And she worked for Bergdorf's for over 40 years. And one of her clients was actually Babe Paley, which was one of Truman Capote's Swans. So I loved how that was like, well. I like when things go full circle like that. Okay, the next book that I read was Full Service Blonde, and this is by Megan Edwards. And I talked about this in February because I was sent Getting Off on Frank Sinatra by Megan Edwards, which was the first in her new Copper Black Cozy Mystery series. Okay, so I found this. I thought it was the second one, but it's actually on Goodreads just called Number 0. Is before Getting Off on Frank Sinatra, so I was a little confused, but it tied up kind of some loose ends. So start with this one, Full Service Blonde, and then go to Getting Off on Frank Sinatra. If you're a cozy mystery fan like I am, definitely read this. And it has its own murder mystery that doesn't connect with the next one in the Getting Off on Frank Sinatra, so you're good there. I gave this one 4 stars. The next book that I read was American Housewife. This was hilarious. So this is a collection of short stories, and they are all on domesticity and the housewife and women. They are hilarious. I definitely gave this 5 stars. Fabulous. It was so hilarious. Okay, and then the next one that I read, I did finish Matilda at the very beginning of March. And of course, I cried. It was fabulous. It was so wonderful to revisit, and I gave it 5 stars, of course. I also read I Loved Her in the Movies, Memories of Hollywood's Legendary Actresses by Robert Wagner. Yes, that Robert Wagner. I honestly did not realize that it was him. Makes total sense. I mean, it just didn't click at the time. So, and then amazingly enough, as I'm reading this and definitely knowing like, oh, it's that Robert Wagner, how much is going to, like, what is he going to say about Natalie? Like, which, not enough. Do we want to get into this? I'll get into this. So this, and I just happened to be reading it when he's like named as a suspect or a person of interest in Natalie Wood's murder and her death. And then I was so curious because I wanted to know what he said about Natalie, and it almost just kind of added to my suspicions, even though I think if you're an old Hollywood buff, let me know down below and let me know your thoughts on Robert Wagner and the death of Natalie Wood. So those are the 10 books that I read in March. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!